Thank you for coming. We were waiting for Maharaj, and Maharaj is here today. And last end of 2024, Maharaj celebrated. It was his Vayavyas Puja, 76. And we wish you many, many more. So that
How many more?
as long as as you said yourself, as long as you can, you will do that. To come and see us and give us your association. But we pray that you stay healthy all the time.
All the time. Not so. Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi. Not always so. But thank you, wishes. That only way is to have a spiritual body, and it's not this one. Well, it's nice to be in warm weather. This morning when I woke up, it was 16 degrees.
Oh, oh, oh.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
And there was a big snowstorm in Washington, D.C. and therefore the flight was delayed because they came from the East Coast to the Midwest and then down here. So, but we made it. And the topic, it's a series. It's from the same theme, but the target is surrender to Krishna. And surrender to Krishna, as you know, that's what Krishna wants. Let's say the verse together. Sarvadharmam parijajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Let's do it again.
Sarvadharmam parijajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha.
Ma Suchaha. Don't worry. Ma Suchaha. It's just one thing. Mame Kam Sharanam. I had a conversation yesterday evening after the Sunday program at the Naperville Center. Husband, wife, teenage boy, teenage girl. Give you some idea of their age. Born in a Brahmin family, trained in not really what Brahmanas do, but they did, that's what their family tradition was, just this Deva, that Devi, and, Om Jai Jagadisha Hare, that program. This is, you said we do the Pran Pratishtha, and then any deity becomes the deity. So I didn't correct, but yeah, just listening. So now how to chanting 16 rounds, reading Bhagavad Gita. How do I deal with the family situation? Because they have their expectations. Do they live in town? No, but they come to visit. When they come to visit, when it's this puja, that puja time, and they've given me this deity, that deity, and Om Jai Jagadisha Hare, everybody in town. It's on their altar. And there's an expectation from family what to do. I feel conflicted. How do you advise somebody like that? So this is what I said. Be respectful and be devotional. So when you have your altar, that's Krishna, etc., or ISKCON altar. And over there is the family altar, and take time, carefully study from scripture how this Deva and that Devi, let's start with Sri Brahma Samhita, and you can understand the position of this Devi or that Deva in relation to Govinda. Govinda Vari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Or the Brijbasis. be a Brijvasi. You grew up in South India and they have this other idea. So now you're Krishna Bhakta.
You're so pretty.
And you surrender to Krishna. Mamekam Sharanam. The 6 verses. Aham sarvasya prabhavo vatak sarvam pravartate iti madhva vajante mam bhutava samam. Krishna is the source of everything. Everything comes from him. That's Krishna. Or matak parataram nanya kinchidasti dhananjaya. Or you can tell them the verse. Yanti deva ratade. So you know the verses. Now, don't be disrespectful, but Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Your heart goes to taking the position of surrender to the personality of Godhead. So the topic is the limbs of surrender. That's where we're going. And before we get to the limbs of surrender, we're starting with 101. Now, in the teachings of Rupa Goswami about bhakti, what's the first step? Adar Shraddha, right? So Shraddha means you're looking up. Faith in something is the object of your faith, and you're holding in your bhakti vessel, your heart, some faith in that which you are looking up to. And if it's properly guided, then it's, Krishna, a representative of Krishna, or a manifestation of Krishna of some kind or another. Even the demigod worship is faith in this deva or that devi, it's looking up. Then where do you repose that faith? Depends on the association that you have. And if it's sadhu sangha, then it gets corrected or redirected. Because everyone has faith in something. You can't live without faith. Walk across the floor. You trust it's going to hold you. Because the floor is resting on something, and that's resting on something, is resting on something, and ultimately that's resting on, but supposing you walk across the floor and you fall through the floor. You better be careful what's underneath that floor. And so have faith, and it's not blind, but what's it resting upon? Therefore one needs good association to make sure that you know where to repose that faith. That's what sadhu sangha does. Redirects misplaced faith to properly placed faith. And the good news is Krishna is very kind. And Krishna sends such sadhus to someone who wants to know. Truth with the capital T, or reality with the capital R, or different ways of saying it. What's it all about? Inquisitive, Brahma Jigyasu. So that's with faith, which is the first of the 9 stages of bhakti. There's humility. Say it negatively. Without humility, you're not going to get very far. Say it positively. True humility precedes true bhakti. Because true bhakti comes from a true bhakta. When the true bhakta is ready to give true bhakti, there better be humility, because it's going to bounce. Or it just won't go in. It may hang around, but it won't go in. So there's I'm going to make a few references. One nice reference is from Kapila Dev's teachings to Devahuti. You know Devahuti, mother of Kapila Dev and the wife of Kardama Muni. It's a very nice pastime. Very nice pastime. So this is chapter 29 of that section where Kapila Dev is instructing Devahuti. She has many questions she wants to know, and he's the right person to ask. So this is, the chapter 29 is devotional service, or explanation of devotional service. And here's the verse. Adhyatmika. Adhyatmika. You know, there's Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, Adibhautika. Adhyatmika, in Prabhupada's word for word, it's spiritual subject matter. Anu Shravanat. Anu Shravanat. By hearing, or from hearing. Then Nama Sankirtan, right there it is. I mean, not just, this is the earliest stages of Satya Yuga. In the first of the 14 Manus. But there, you know what, Nam Sankirtan. It wasn't Nam Sankirtan during Satya Yuga, and it's only kind of manifested or descended in Kali Yuga. It's always there. It's always there. I'll read the translation. A devotee should always try to hear about spiritual matters and should always utilize his time in chanting the holy name of the Lord. His behavior should always be straightforward and simple. And although he is not envious but friendly to everyone, he should avoid the company of persons who are not spiritually advanced. Sounds like Rupa Goswami, doesn't it? The Rupa Goswami is deriving truths that he presents in his teachings from Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's very simple. Here's many of you know Radhika Raman. If you don't, get to know him. He's a luminary personality, and he got his PhD at Oxford University on 3 verses from Paramatma Sandarbha. Of course, he made references, but his PhD was on 3 verses from Paramatma Sandarbha. In one of the classes that I heard him speak, he said something that it resonates. When Jiva Goswami was writing the Sandarbhas, his intention was, like anyone who's a follower of a great authority, to prove that the teachings of their authority is the greatest. It's standard and very natural. And his strategy in doing this was 3. 1. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost authority. It's in Tattva Sandarbha. Again and again and again, backwards and forwards. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost authority. The middle one, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. He said that's where most of his work was. And then, therefore, the teaching of Lord Chaitanya is the highest. That was his strategy. PhD, scholar. So, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. The teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, they're not different. The language may be different, but it's not different. So this is, Rupa Goswami has taken, because Rupa Goswami's teachings came from whom? From his teacher, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are Srimad Bhagavatam. So Rupa Goswami's teachings are Lord Chaitanya's teachings, which are Srimad Bhagavatam. Really simple. So study Srimad Bhagavatam. And promote Srimad Bhagavatam and discuss Srimad Bhagavatam and make your best effort to hear Srimad Bhagavatam carefully again and again and again and again and again. And do it again and again and again. Then do it again and again and again. I'm going to share something just happened today. I had a conversation today with Garuda. You know Gruda. Gruda is, he has his PhD from Harvard University, not Oxford University. And his was in Sanskrit, not same as Radhika Raman. And it was a very interesting conversation. They kind of went around and all over the place, but he was kind of like on the phone, jumping up and down with enthusiasm about Prabhupada's writings. And because he is who he is, he's the scholar that he is, he knows what he's talking about, and it's clear he knows what he's talking about. He's read many commentaries on this and that and the other thing, and his like 16 times in the conversation. Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports were otherworldly. I mean, the text is otherworldly, but to explain it in a way that's also otherworldly and readily understandable, it's totally unique in contrast or comparison to anything else. There are commentaries that have many things. And Prabhupada cherry-picked from those other commentaries and inserted them in his Bhaktivedanta purports. But, it's really nice to hear him say it 16 times. Prabhupada's purports are so unique, brilliant, effulgent, super special. And he's very familiar with this one, that one, and the other one. Om Jai Jagadish Hare. But he knows. Anyway, so let's read the Bhaktivedanta purport. We're going to read 2 paragraphs. And it's on the topic of real humility precedes real bhakti. Purport. In order to advance in spiritual understanding, one has to hear from the authentic sources about spiritual knowledge. One can understand the reality of spiritual life by following the strict regular principles and by controlling the senses. To have control, it is necessary that one be non-violent and truthful, refrain from stealing, abstain from sex life, and possess only that which is absolutely necessary for keeping the body and soul together. One should not eat more than this. It's like these are regulations. No, mode of goodness regulations. Not eat more than necessary. Sound familiar? Rupa Goswami. He should not collect more paraphernalia than necessary. Rupa Goswami. Adhyahara Prayasasya. He should not talk unnecessarily with common men. He should not follow the rules and regulations without purpose. He should follow the rules and regulations so that he may actually make advancement. Paragraph. There are 18 qualifications mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Where is that mentioned? 13th chapter. Texts 8 through 12. And it depends how you divide it. There's another way of looking at it. There's 20, but it's okay. 18, 20. There's principles. Here's some of them. One should be without pride. One should not demand unnecessary respect from others, and one should be nonviolent. Amanit bham, adambit bham, ahimsa. One should be very tolerant and simple. One should accept the spiritual master. One should control the senses. These are mentioned here and in the Bhagavad Gita as well. We should hear from authentic sources how to advance in spiritual life, semicolon. Such instructions should be taken from the Acharya and should be assimilated, etc. There's more from the Bhaktivedanta purport. So this is being narrated in the Himalayas. We visited the place. It was a very nice yatra, visiting Haridwar and Badrinath, and in between some places we visited. So what we see is Maitreya meeting with Vidura, and Vidura is already brilliant and illuminated and highly, vastly learned. And he's asking Maitreya as if not as if he doesn't know, but he wants to hear from the realized source. So he's asking what he knows so he can hear it again and hear it again and hear it again and hear it again. So Maitreya one by one answers his questions. And one of the topics that's found in this third canto is the descendants from the first of the 14 Manus, and so forth and so on. So Maitreya, is narrating about this discussion between Devahuti and Kapila. Now, reference we heard from this list in the purport, Amanitvam Adambitvam. Again, this chapter 13, text number 8. Humility and pridelessness. Humility and pridelessness. The way that it's described by Baladev Vidyabhusan is there's items of knowledge and there's the process of knowledge. The items of knowledge are in the first 7 verses before verse number 8. And verse number 8, according to Baladev, is now describing how you get it. And how you get it is the process of knowledge. And the first 2 on the list is Amanitvam Adambitvam, humility and pridelessness. Precedes real bhakti. Real humility precedes real bhakti. That's the topic this evening. Now, we're accustomed to hearing humility in terms of Shikshastaka, number 3. Yes? Yes. Trinadapi Sadiche now, right? Trin, straw. Like Sanatana Goswami when he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with straw in his teeth. Fell at his feet, clasped his feet, asking, vastly learned Sanatana Goswami, asking, who am I? That's a good question. Everyone's got an answer, but he wants the answer from Lord Chaitanya. And then why am I forced to suffer the threefold miseries? Trapatraya Mulanam. Why am I have Tapatraya? Threefold miseries. Why? I don't want, but I'm forced. I mean, it's not that he doesn't know, but he wants to know from the right source. Similar to Maitreya, Vidura, and Arjuna and Krishna, and so many other situations. So many other situations. So Shikshastaka 3 is Lord Chaitanya is describing the glories of the holy name. And then, unfortunate as I am, I know the glories. I know, but I have no attraction. Nanaraga. And then he provides a solution that starts with humility. You can know, but not feel it. You can know from the head, but not from the heart. And so bhakti is both, that you put the two together. And so here's, I hope it works, because it doesn't always work. This is a recording of Srila Prabhupada singing with like music, drone music in the background, singing Shikshastaka 3. I hope it works. It works. Okay, so Trina, strong. Here's a, hopefully it works, yes. Lord Chaitanya speaking about this verse that he composed. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone, please hear me, string this verse on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. How many here have been to Vrindavan? Those of you that haven't been to Vrindavan, I'm sure you want to go to Vrindavan. May you all go to Vrindavan sooner than later. Because who knows how long we're going to be around. Right? One of the many nice places in Vrindavan is a grove of trees where Rupa Goswami wrote much of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's a place called Ter Kadamba. Ter Kadamba. Ter means call, and Kadamba is a certain kind of tree. It's a tree where Krishna would climb up the top of one of the Kadamba trees, and with his flute he would call for the cows. But there are too many cows to call them all, so he called them by groups. You know the story. Some that have this colors, some that have Mridanga-shaped heads, some that this, some of that. And he would call the groups by their name, and they would wait to hear their name from Krishna's flute, because he's a magical flute that can talk. When they hear their name, they would moo. Their tails would raise in the air, and they'd come running. And then wait for the next group, wait for the next group, wait for the next group. And that was a daily pastime at Tirukadamba, because it's very near to Nandagram. And it happens to be kind of in between where Radharani lived with her so-called husband and where he lived. So Tirukadamba is a place of meeting and separation kind of place. And inside there's a grove of trees and other types of trees, not just Kadamba trees. There's different types of trees. And they're a very nice set of deities. This is a photograph of Krishna Balaram deities. And when you go to Tirukadamba, go inside the grove. There's a nice sadhu, and he'll treat you very nicely and give you some prasadam and hope for some dakshina. He's a nice man, very nice man. Not a greedy man, he's a very nice man. And just above the altar, this is the photo of the deities, there's this nice verse that also has the word Trin. And this is a verse written by Raghunath Das Goswami about Rupa Goswami. Adadanas Dantire Idam Yache Punak Punak Srimad Rupa Padambujo Boja Rajo Ham Sham Bhave Bhave, taking a blade of grass between my teeth, like Sanatana Goswami to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he does to Rupa Goswami. I repeatedly beg that birth after birth may I obtain the dust of Srila Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. Rajo Ham Syam Bhave Bhave. It's one of his writings. Raghunath Das was not one of the most prolific, but whatever he wrote was very profound and very devotional, very special. So here's Prabhupada giving some teachings on the humility feature of, particularly, of Shikshastaka. Here's Sanatana Goswami clasping Mahaprabhu's feet, and on the left, you know the image, there's this very enthusiastic lady. Too enthusiastic. In order to, because when it's so crowded, and I've never been, but it's so crowded in the Jagannath temple, the deities are humongous, but she couldn't see because she's a short lady and there are too many people, so she climbed up the Gruda Stamba, standing on the shoulders of Mahaprabhu, and his servant was, get down, get down. And Mahaprabhu said, no, her enthusiasm knows no boundaries. There's no offense on her part. She's so enthusiastic. If only I could be so enthusiastic to have darshan of the deity like this. So lower than a downtrodden blade of grass. Many of you have seen, if you've been to Vrindavan, you've seen what this fellow's doing. Dandabats Parikrama. Anyone needs an introduction to what that is? You all know. You don't know. You know. Okay. You don't know. Dandabats, paying obeisances. So as you see, this fellow, there are different ways of doing this. One of the ways, the common way is, all around Govardhan Hill, they take a rock, anything rock, and then pay obeisances and with their outstretched hand place the rock, that little mat that they're laying down on, they pick up the mat, pick up the rock, stand where the rock was, pay the obeisances again, place the rock out, and then just go around Govardhan Parikrama by Dandavats. Well, this fellow's got 108. He's a serious guy. And sometimes when you go to Radhakund, they do it around Radhakund. Sometimes around Govardhan Hill. Sometimes their whole Braj Mandal Parikram. That's really intense. It's really intense. You know Nityananda Pran? Yeah. Nityananda Pran has a son. His name is Prahlad Sringa. He's kind of like, in his early 20s. Go. He went with a group of other young men his age, and they spent a whole month of Kartik in tents. They carried the tents and their stuff in their backpack. They carried the backpack on their back and did Brajmandal Parikram. They didn't do this kind, but Brajmandal, all around Braja, with somebody guiding them that this place is this and that place is that, and then set up their tent. Knowing, this is a place where you can get water for bathing and so forth and so on. It's like Braj to the max. How purifying. And just a 20, 21-year-old young man. What a way to start, huh? Where's he going? Yeah, later. Very purifying. Very, very purifying. So what the photo is someone, in order to exercise the humility muscle, like physical therapy, just pay obeisances again and again, lower than a blade of grass, downtrodden blade of grass. In such a state of mind, one can shout the holy name constantly. And there are persons, not just Brijvasis, there are persons that do this. I can name some names, but I won't name some names because of time. But there are devotees that do like this. One of our godbrothers recently departed this world. He was living in Vrindavan, and every morning for the past 12 years, he was chanting 64 rounds before the sun came up. Huh? No. The name is escaping me. He was with Radha Damodar party. Excuse me, he was with the Guru Kripa party for some time. So, anyway, and every day for the last some number of years, 3 times 64 rounds every day. He became a Babaji. That's what he did. You don't have to become a Babaji, but the chanting in the right mood, the mood of humility, it strengthens, it awakens and strengthens bhakti. Namaha is part of that mood of, we say Namaha very easily, it's in many mantras. What does it mean? Here's a nice description from Padma Purana. Ma represents ahankara, and na represents negation of ahankara. Thus, by uttering namaha, one negates one's independent attitude. The jiva is dependent on the Lord. He lives with dependence, therefore one should completely reject the idea of accomplishing by one's own capacity. Nothing is left to be accomplished by the ability of the Lord. Nothing's, Krishna gives the ability, there's nothing left. Consigning one's body to the Lord, one should serve him. This is the statement. It's some verses strung together. You see the series of verses from Padma Purana. A definition of what namaha is. Now, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing for humility, this is now the limbs of surrender, Sharanagati. In his writings, he uses this word dainya. And dainya, he explains it. It's an appeal for mercy. Well, who's going to appeal for mercy if they're not humble? But if you're humble, you appeal for mercy. You don't just appeal for mercy and sip lemonade and hammock. You do render service, but in a humble mood. And surrender, take shelter of the personality of Godhead. Here's one of his songs, the Sharanagati songs. In red letters there you see, Guna Nahi Paubi. Were you to judge me now, you would find no good qualities. That's humility. Have mercy and judge me not. Cause me to drink the honey of your lotus feet and thereby deliver this Bhakti Vinod. So, to become humility, true humility precedes true bhakti. That's the topic. And there's humble, and then there's true humble, and there's like extreme humble. It's just extreme humble doesn't mean trembling and low self-esteem and all of those other things that it doesn't mean. It means not considering highly of oneself, yet, however minute and tiny one may be, let me offer whatever it is that I have to Krishna and serve him. This is the mood that's given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his chief associates, Rupa and Sanatana, and to everybody else. Haridas Thakur exemplified this to the nth degree, even when, mistreated and so forth and so on. He remained completely humble. It's truly exceptional. Truly exceptional. There's a nice Mahabharata story. Maybe some of you know Mahabharata stories. Ekalavya. What do we know about Ekalavya? Who wants to say one thing about Ekalavya?
The incredible archer.
Yeah. What's the story? Ekalavya, go ahead.
So Ekalavya, he was a hunter And he saw Dronacharya teaching the princes,
The Pandavas,
the
yeah.
Pandavas, and yeah. So Eklavya also wanted to learn archery, and so he dedicated himself.
Well, but he did something first. Let me
Oh,
interrupt.
yeah.
Okay, you go ahead. What did he do first?
He asked
Drona said
Dronacharya.
no.
Yeah, and
Why did Drona say no?
because he was not a Kshatriya.
No,
Wait,
he's
no.
the son of a
He
king. His father was a king.
Oh.
See, it's right on the screen here. But he was a Nishada king, like a tribal guy. You know, king of the tribal people. So his character was missing. So if you give something of value to a person without character, how are they going to use it? Going to misuse it. So, and this is important in the whole narration. And he Drona wanted the Pandavas to rule the world. Now they fought on opposite sides during the battle, but I'm looking at this young man. I want you to eye contact. Okay, look at you, nice garland on and everything.
Yes.
Do you read Mahabharata?
I read.
Sometimes. Okay. You read on your own, you read with mom.
I read.
Just on your own. Fantastic. What are you going to be when you grow up? Are you going to grow up? You're going to be a devotee. Nice devotee. Not an Eklavya. Arjuna, maybe. Okay. Pandava is a great devotee. So he said, he didn't say, he said no, but the reason for his saying no was two things. You know, if you give something valuable to a low-class person, you know, although he's the son of a king, he's an Nishada, he's an avaricious type of person. He'll misuse it. And the other was he Drona wanted the Pandavas to rule the world. So he was giving them military skills so they can, as needed, rule the world. So he said no. So what the painting shows is he didn't take no for an answer. What Eklavya did is he went into the forest using mud. It's something similar to what the gopis did. They used mud or earth and water, made a murti of Katyayani. They worshipped Katyayani. So he worshipped the murti of Drona. And from worshipping Drona, he was very fixed. Like Karna was also very fixed. Kshatriya. But I was, anyway. And he was told no, because you're not a Kshatriya. So we can't teach you military skill. So Eklavya learned from worshipping this deity. And he was constantly, like obsessive in practicing military skills with bow and arrow, particularly. So one fine day, the Pandavas, with the permission of Drona, were going into the forest for the purpose of practicing their archery skills. And they went into the forest and they saw this dog that had 7 arrows inside his mouth. And they could understand, you know, intuitively, indirectly, he was barking or wanting to bite or something, and so fast, 7 arrows went in his mouth.
Oh,
So he's walking around with 7 arrows in his mouth. And the Pandavas saw this dog, so they followed where the dog came from. And they found where it came from. There was Eklavya in the forest, firing arrows and firing arrows and firing arrows. And who's this guy? And where did he learn what he learned? So they asked him. And he said, I'm a disciple of Drona. And Arjuna went back to Drona and said, you promised me that there would be nobody that could supersede me in military skill. And I can't do this. So Drona put two and two together. Ah, I remember that fellow. So take me to where you found him. Remember all this? And so there's Drona. He went back and asked Ekalavya, you've received military skill from me? You have to give me some dakshin. Yes, sir, whatever you want. Cut off your thumb. When he cuts off his thumb, see in the back, that's the murti of Drona that he worshipped by his little cottage by the side of the river. He cut off his thumb. So he couldn't use his bow and arrow anymore. Because he didn't want an incorrigible person to have skills from him. So worshipping deity has potency, even the deity of Dronacharya, what to speak of deity of Krishna. So, he wasn't humble, so he took his thumb. No, he could have said no, then, Drona can just cut off his thumb, no problem for Drona. The lesson is, true humility precedes true bhakti. Now, it's also correct to say, faith precedes true bhakti. True faith precedes true bhakti. Say, how much to any one of us? Supposing you, every now and then we have conversations with somebody that's struggling in Krishna consciousness. It happens every now and then. Someone's struggling in Krishna consciousness. Why?
No humility.
Huh?
No true humility.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because there is no true humility.
No true humility. And true humility means I want to know. And I know that I don't know. But I want to know. And so when you hear with that humility, then you hear from the right source. Then you can have true knowledge. With true knowledge, you can engage yourself in true bhakti. It's a little difficult. I did just yesterday evening, along with this other couple, but I mentioned that they grew up in a Brahmana family that worshiped demigods. Another fellow, he's one of the donors of this nice temple in Naperville, and he's now unemployed. He lost his job and da-da-da-da-da, and he's down and out and da-da-da-da-da. And he wanted some guidance. At least that's what he said he wanted. But anything I said, it just like water off a duck's back. It didn't go in. And no, he's pained in on all directions he looks. His family, his employment, his self-esteem, his determination, his enthusiasm. It's like down and further down and further down. But so he wanted some help. But he kept holding on to the same things that he's been holding on to and couldn't hear. Because that's what gave him strength before. And then now it's not working for him. So it's not like he's a person of good character, but something's missing. And it's hard when something is missing and somebody's, he's in his mid-50s, used to living a life of opulence and prosperity, and all of a sudden the bottom falls out. Then what? So, all those things that work for him are not working. He's trying, trying it again. And trying it again, trying it again, losing his enthusiasm in life. I mean, he wasn't like, describing himself as a man of depression and suicide and all that stuff. But it does, continues, and that's the direction it moves in. And then his teenagers, his sons in college are turning against, so it happens. And you know why and what to do. It was really hard, and I felt his pain, but he couldn't hear. I tried this, I tried that, I tried the back door, the front door, the chimney. Nothing worked. So the Bhakti is the solution. Bhakti, making the connection with Krishna through a life of devotion and service to Krishna. That's it. That's Bhagavad Gita. It's knowledge. The matter and spirit and the controller of both. And we take shelter of the controller of both. And you can navigate your way through the field of matter better. And whatever it is, that's what it is. To the intelligence that Krishna gives you, and you follow the Bhagavad Gita principles, and you follow the teachings of a teacher, and whatever it is, it is. And that's my allotment for this period of time. And so your place of shelter is not the circumstance. Your place of shelter is Krishna. And that's our topic during this visit, is taking shelter of Krishna. So humility is necessary for taking shelter. Because otherwise you're going to take shelter somewhere else. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. I'm used to being with groups of people that there's like discussion is the best part.
Oh, for
Go
me,
ahead, there's a hand in the back.
Yeah, for me, I've been where that man was, and ultimately, until you can surrender, until you actually say, Krishna, I accept this situation, I accept these conditions because these are the things that you have given me. And I'm grateful because there's always a worse. There's always a thing that could have happened that could have been much, much worse than this circumstance. And yet, you as trying to be controller, you think, oh, I failed, I've done this, I've done that, I've done the other thing. That's exactly why you failed. You haven't surrendered. You haven't had enough humility to be able to say, Krishna, I put my life, I put my everything in your hands, and do with me what you will. And that was my realization ultimately, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get to this stage in my life. I'm an old man now, and I have ultimate faith. I served my Gurudev, and when I asked him that question, so many times I say, how can everything be so real? He would say to me, my Gurudev told me so. I have complete faith in what Srila Prabhupada said, and I have complete faith in what my Gurudev said, and I go on in surrender. So that's my experience with it.
Well done. I'm looking for a particular verse where Rupa Goswami says essentially what you just said, in very compact and very elegant and very eloquent and very compact. So, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Someone else? Up front.
Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. So I was trying to understand the Eklavya story, saying now he gave his thumb to his guru.
Yeah.
So, what, like, how it relates to humility, saying he's just.
He wasn't. It was the proper gesture. Now, because Drona is not a weakling. If he had said no, he could have taken his thumb anyways.
Yeah, sure could have.
No problem. But there was a surrender after the fact. So that skill which he had developed was artificial. Based upon, the Guru said no, and he went ahead anyways. So whatever he had gained came from his Guru. And the Guru was acknowledging, Drona was acknowledging. But then, the reimbursement, or the payment, or the not like a fee, but, deduction.
Right.
So, now, you can ask your question in a number of different ways. What's the takeaway from this? Lacking humility, yes, he developed something, but it was impermanent. It would have ended some other way, or some other way, or some other way, but it was impermanent. Unlike Arjuna. Now, we know that Arjuna was unable to defeat the dacoits that were harassing the queens. And then he understood the ability to protect anyone came from Krishna. But that was Krishna's lesson for him to not be proud of his capacity. Because after that, he did many other heroic things. He certainly had the capacity from Krishna to do heroic things. But that's where it comes from. And Ekalavya was understanding, it's Drona, he can teach me, but without the real submission. Although he said no, so I just, backdoor. I'll do it anyways. It's one of those Mahabharata complex stories. Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So if we think about our time, we have, I don't know, however many hours in a week, 168 or whatever it is, and a third of it, let's say, we sleep, and a third of it is doing this, and a third of it, let's say, is work. And then Krishna not only is, of course, asking us or wanting us, he's waiting for us to surrender. And at the same time, I think of so much time that we spend doing work, and at the same time, so much of it seems, while necessary, meaningless at the same time, or not so impactful. So I question
What to do?
Yeah, simply.
Well, you know the answer, but I'll just remind you of what you already know, because I take it's that kind of a question, because what I'm going to say isn't something you've never heard before. It's a standard dilemma. There's karma or fruitive work, and using Prabhupada's explanation, the whole chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, everyone has some duty to perform. So that duty is work. So the work of a grahastha, the work of a brahmachari, the work of a sannyasi, the work of a vanaprastha takes different shape, and then according to their psychophysical nature, it'll look like this or look like that, etc. So we're all doing something. The key then is yajna. You sacrifice, you do that, and minimally the result goes to Krishna or Vishnu in sacrifice. So it's just a transformation or a change of internal consciousness of the purpose is not maintaining myself, because I'm not maintaining myself, but I'm being maintained. And so let me work for the boss, who's the authority who I work for. You know, that guy thinks he's the boss. Okay, let him think that. I know who I'm working for. And the result goes to him in the ways that he indicates how the result should be given to him. And you know, so then I can perform my prescribed duty because of fill in the blank. You know, it's how I'm supposed to live, or I have a family, or I have to support my mother, or whatever the situation is. So that's the worldly, but let me do that, which is the sacrifice, because without Vishnu's or Krishna's ability to walk across the floor, I can't walk across the floor. To work, it's for Krishna. And then by the process of hearing, that work for Krishna becomes more than just karma yoga. It becomes bhakti yoga. So I call it, in simple terms, I call it the one pocket program. It's not so much for Krishna, so much for me, so much for me, so much for Krishna, me, Krishna, Krishna. One pocket, it's all for Krishna. Then that's a consciousness, and cultivation of the consciousness is you're working for Krishna. The fruit goes to Krishna. The sacrifice. There's several verses in chapter 4 like this also. Dravya yagya, yoga yagya, jnana yagya, sacrifice. Human form of life. Life is a type of sacrifice, and regulations guiding that sacrifice, so it can stay on the detached from the results kind of sacrifice, and then it become more elevated through association of devotees, and particularly the hearing and chanting process. Bhakti. So then it's not like, you know, there's no grumbling program. Bhakti works, it's so much. You're working for Krishna. Not something else. You know, the something else is a subset of working for Krishna. And if I forget that, then it's something else only. So how to revive or reawaken? It's for Krishna by hearing, chanting, studying Bhagavad Gita, applying it exactly as you did.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for this beautiful topic. I know I need to cultivate this mood of having real humility. I don't have it. But I heard, like when you first mentioned
Just
about...
gonna ask your son if she's got it. Does mom have humility?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were mom.
I'm wondering.
My son is 18 years old.
Oh.
He's in college.
Okay.
Yeah,
If I were to ask him, what would he say? Is mom humble? Your son, 18-year-old son. What would
No.
he say? He'd say no.
He'll probably say no. He'll say, I don't know about that.
And you'll say, I'll tell you, I'm not humble. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you had mentioned that Srila Rupa Goswami, in his teachings, he had said that you should be straightforward.
Yes.
So when it comes to devotees association, sometimes you want to be straightforward, but you can't be, because it seems like you're saying it in a harsh way, but it's not. It's like some topic, it's very, I don't know, touchy for people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I, okay, I'm not the authority, but how can I say it in a way that it's like shows humility? Some things that I cannot say it, you know, if it's something.
You know the answer? 1715 Bhagavad Gita. What's 1715? It's speech in the mode of goodness. Read it. It gives the answer, but I'll give you a few clues. You don't instruct persons unless you're the authority, you have that right as an authority like your 18-year-old son. You speak, but you don't speak to your 18-year-old son with your finger shaking. You don't do that with teenagers. if you do that with teenagers, they're, you know, you're not being a good parent. It's not how to deal with teenagers. So then you have the responsibility. Then how do you exercise the responsibility? And that's with someone that's dependent. And then there's persons that aren't, and you don't have that privilege. No, what do you do if you see something? You know, that's the saying: see something, say something. This young boy, can you sit down? Thanks. That's how you say it. And if you know, my mother said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. You've never heard that one before. So, but is it possible to fan the spark of someone's bhakti when, in fact, they need some improvement in their bhakti? So if their bhakti becomes strengthened, it becomes more possible for them to see and make improvements where improvements are needed. My understanding of your question is when you see something that's off, and they need, you know, a kindness would be, my dear friend, tap, tap, tap. You're headed for the ditch. And I'm in the passenger seat. Could you come to the middle of the road, please? I don't want to end up in the ditch. So how do you, there's a matter of culture and intelligence both, how to say what needs to be said.
Yeah.
And if you don't have culture and you don't have intelligence, then your speaking is going to make a mess.
Yeah.
Invariably. So now, the need is not over there, the need is over here.
Exactly.
And how to make this pure, so that when I speak, and then it's coming from not only humility, but intelligence and culture. You know how to say, and you'll say sparingly. Not in a panic way or anyway. It takes intelligence and culture. And is it true? It's true, not just you. It's true that we're practicing bhakti, but there's impure things within. And yet, anartha nivritti stage becomes complete, almost complete, just prior to Bhava Bhakti. There's still anarthas within. It's like a very detailed description in Madhurya Kundamini. So there's stuff here. Let me deal with the stuff here, so that I'll be more prepared, or have more complete in the purification of the inside before I make it my business to correct stuff outside. And then when you speak, you speak sparingly and you speak meaningfully and wisely and carefully. It's not easy. Even with that, it's not easy, because your intentions can be misunderstood. You say nothing, and people can complain. Why didn't you say nothing? You could have said something. You saw me heading for the ditch. I just had this exchange with a young devotee who, as a teenager, she was heading for the ditch. And I brought up the boy-girl topic. And she, I didn't know that I hit a sensitive spot. And she's been holding on to it for 20 years. And 20 years later, she disclosed. And so there was this big gap. And she, the relationship with the was, and now it's becoming again, the little light went on, that what you said was with good intention, but it hurt. And they were holding to the hurt rather than the good intention. So we had the same little discussion, you know. I was she was like a father to her, and as I saw her heading for the dish, I had to say something. I didn't like freak or scream or, you know, scold, or just like, you sure you know what you're doing here? This is risky territory you're in, and maybe not very wise risks. I don't remember all the whole discussion. I remember the mood, and she remembers, you know, what she remembers, the hurt. So say something and don't say something, and you know you got problems.
Yeah.
So how do you say? And then even if you say with that deliberateness, this still can be misunderstood. So the essence of the genuine care and all those nice good things, that carries the day, at least for many people. And some people it doesn't.
Yeah.
Lakshmi Shinga wants to add to this topic.
No, I was just going to say, I love the way you opened up with the underscoring the importance of Srila Prabhupada's purports and translations.
Turn it on.
When I was in
Turn it on. Turn it on.
When you were in
Bhubaneswar, when it was just a couple of mud huts and Gaur Govinda Maharaj was there. And he told a story that when he was in school, he had a professor, Sanskrit professor, who was very learned, extremely learned and respected. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj was tasked with translation into Orion, the Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. So there were certain things that were translated by Prabhupada from his training he couldn't understand. He couldn't understand how Prabhupada translated this into what he did. So he approached his Sanskrit professor, because he had a lot of respect for the gentleman, and the man said, "Give me the Bhagavatam and I'll review it and give you my opinion." So he did, and sometime later the man came with the Bhagavatam and he placed it on Gaur Govinda Maharaj's desk, and he said, "This is the most amazing translation I've ever read. It is truly the not only the words of Krishna, it is the mood of Krishna." He said, "I've never read any Bhagavatam translated with such an accuracy in the mood of Krishna and Krishna's devotees." And then Gaur Govinda Maharaj said at that point, you know, all of his doubts were gone, knowing that, you know, Prabhupada's translations were just the penultimate of understanding.
Gopal Bhatta Prabhu was quoting to me. He didn't have the reference, the place where Prabhupada said this, but he repeated that Prabhupada said, there are two ways to translate. One is literal and the other is the mood and feeling. And I prefer the latter. And some translators are more inclined to the former. And some translators are the third category. They don't do the translations properly. But yeah.
And the reason I say this is why I have so much appreciation for the way you opened is because I've seen sometimes there is more emphasis on other translations, you know, and I ran into this problem. I had a copy of Mana Shiksha, speaking of Raghunath Das Goswami, which I loved, and I was reading it, and I was making notes because I was doing a document on pride, and I was reading it and, you know, trying to absorb it and understand it. And then I had a conversation with Mother Irmala, and she said, you know, because she said, she informed me that she was working on a copy of the Manashiksha.
Yes.
And I said, oh yeah, I love the Manashiksha. I read the, she said, who was the translator? And I don't want to mention, but I told her who the translator was. She said, oh no. She said, there are so many mistakes in that translation. She said, that was one of the reasons I was compelled to do this, because, you know, devotees quote and pass on what they've read.
Yes, naturally.
Right?
Naturally.
And she was saying that if it's, we're passing on, you know, misinformation or inaccuracies, then it's not. So, you know, the fact that we are fortunate that we have Prabhupada.
I have no idea how fortunate.
We have, and reading his books and his translations are really enough to get us back to Godhead. I mean, there's no harm in looking at others, but I've heard entire lectures by younger devotees where I couldn't find you know, Prabhupada's mood. It was more like, you know, this esoteric Bhakti treatise or whatever like that.
Sigh.
We know.
It's true.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I will get in my soapbox. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a very nice class. I was excited to come tonight because I leave tomorrow morning and I wanted to catch at least one class on humility. For me personally, I've noticed my lack of humility coupled with awareness of pride.
They go together.
Oh, yeah.
Hand in hand, it seems. And I've noticed it more and more in the past couple of years. And so you mentioned that one way to cultivate, a practical way to try and cultivate more sincere humility is paying obeisances. And I was wondering...
Another's washing pots.
Yeah, really? Line up.
Or bathrooms. Or in the
Bathroom,
garbage
yeah.
out area.
I've done these things, and yet still, it's so subtle, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what new realization I have. I seem to be very clearly, very bluntly, very obviously, very embarrassingly reminded of how little humility I have and how much pride I have. So my question is,
What to do?
what to do? Yeah.
Just one thing. She used to live here. Now she moved to New Vrindavan. She has been living to New Vrindavan how many years now?
4 years.
4 years. And every now and then she come back. And that means she has been. This is what to say.
I've been reminded more and more for 4 years how little humility I actually have. Because I thought I was fine. I thought I was fine. You know.
Just about 15 minutes before coming in here, I was on the phone with Giant Krishna. On something else. Not about your humility.
He might have a thing to say.
Well, several things. One is, part of purification is to recognize the unwanted things within, or say it the other way. Before we started practicing bhakti, we had no idea the stuff that was inside.
Oh.
Say it again. When you practice bhakti, look at this. Look at this. So, it may not be that pride and the absence of humility is increasing, just you're becoming purified.
Yeah.
Yay! You're recognizing there's this obstacle, formidable obstacle. I was just in, nice warm Chicago, in Naperville, 16 degrees this morning. So we spent 4 classes discussing the Agasura pastime. And there's a scene where the cowherd boys, they're playing and playing and playing and playing this whole section of Krita Punya Punja, how fortunate they are. And then in comes Krishna. Says they're having so much time. They went out early so they could have breakfast. He didn't have breakfast with Mother Yasoda. He blew his horn and again, so they didn't have breakfast yet because they were just playing and playing and playing. So Krishna decided to inspire the Paramatma within the heart of Agasura to come and do the Agasura thing. That's how much, he's super soul. His super soul is his expansion. So he is super soul. And Agasura came to do his thing. The cowherd boys are looking at this big serpent. And they're wondering, hey, it looks like a playground. Look at it. We got closer, this bad fishy smell inside the mouth. And maybe this is a serpent. And then he concluded, it's a serpent that's come to kill us. But then he just got through killing Bakasura, so even if it is, he'll take care of it. So let's go. We do things impetuously, without mindlessly. No, that was these cowherd boys were inspired by Leela Shakti. We normally say Yogamaya, but our acharyas specifically say Leela Shakti. And it was their opportunity. They were by Krishna's Leela Shakti. We're not. So I'm not responding to your question. I'm talking about Krishna. But we're heading in that direction. So this is finished the pastime. Leela Shakti arranged it that Krishna became bewildered. He wanted them to not go, but his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, what normally does whatever he wants, it didn't happen. They entered his mouth. And Krishna was amazed at the power of his Leela Shakti. Because the Leela Shakti was making an arrangement for Krishna to feel bewildered and astonished. And then a solution. The next moment, a solution. So, Bhakti, for you, for us that have, too many anarthas and big mountains of certain ones, you just stay with the Bhakti process. And knowing that mountain is there, that something unwanted is there, you stare at it, you confront it. And not like, get out of here. There's no place for you here. You take the position purposely, again, you cultivate the opposite. This paying obeisances or any other thing. Do something that may feel uncomfortable for you because, in principle, it's moving in the direction of humility and away from the other. Now, the pride is resting upon the bodily conception of life. I and mine. I, the body. Mine, what comes from the body. So mine, pride. I'm prideful, and you fill in blank. But it's rooted in the bodily conception. So that's a second, along with that which purposely puts you in an uncomfortable position so that you can be humble instead of the other. It's hit the delete button with the bodily conception.
Yeah.
Then how do you do that? You have what's the spiritual conception? When you're chanting, for example, and when you're worshiping coming before the deity, for example, or you're honoring prasadam, for example. The spiritual dimension of something that you do every day, with a spiritual conception that relieves the physical, the bodily conception. you exercise your bhakti muscle. And as your bhakti muscle gets a little stronger, then that will help the humility. And you'll also realize the pridefulness even more, and that's another painful thing. But you exercise the positive to remove the negative. And sometimes it happens right away, and sometimes it takes a while. You have something.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. I've been questioning myself. Like when I was starting with Krishna consciousness, I was seeing a lot of purity happening within me. But one point it's stagnant, and then I can feel that okay, when I grow in Krishna consciousness, I should become more simpler.
Yeah.
But it's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm
doing something
and my
wrong.
mind trick says that, oh, okay, this is for Krishna, this is for Krishna, but it's for me. The mind tricks like that. And then I feel I'm a hypocrite. So,
yeah, but I know people that don't see that, and excuse me, my voice is going up. They're really self-centered and they don't see it, and you touch it and they don't see it. You say it 6 times and they don't see it. So you're seeing it. It's a little bit like my response to her question about humility. You're making progress because you're seeing it. Now, what to do? Several things. Hit the reset button. Step back. Get a reflective space. What's going on? Or, what's my mission in life? When you started Krishna consciousness, it was a little different than today. So go back. The principle, let the principle become matured. Same principle, but now with another reset of the same principle. Because bhakti in sadhana stage is the same bhakti in the perfectional stage, using Prabhupada's word, perfectional stage. It's the same bhakti. You don't have to change anything. It's just bhakti, 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 bhakti stages of one thing. So if you're stagnating for some reason, go back to square one. How did my bhakti life begin? Adam Shraddha, Tata Sadhasa, so Bhajana Kriya. So I have to do those things in a qualitative, better way, purposefully, just right in the little purport that we read. Not just doing the regulations, but purposeful, mindful. What's the purpose of these regulations? What's it all about? What's it for? And then enter into the reason of what's it for. It's to awaken Krishna Bhakti. It's to cleanse. But then what's the purpose of the cleansing? To awaken Krishna Bhakti. So then you do your Bhakti exercises. 50 of those, 20 of those. Every day.
but Maharaj, when you get deep dive into the spiritual aspect, you have to get your family along with you.
No, you don't.
No?
No. I mean, you by your going there, your family will come.
Exactly.
There may be some pushback, but your family will come. Because bhakti is powerful.
So I was advised to step back. So
By family members.
no.
Friends.
Yeah, with advice friends and everybody to step back.
Back.
Not to deep dive so
No.
I can take my family.
Well, it depends what step back means.
Not spend
Slow down.
some
Exactly.
karmic life too.
How to do that for Krishna? If you do that, how to do that for Krishna? It's a little bit like his question. you know, work. You know, stuff. Family stuff. Let's just do family stuff. But if the Krishna consciousness is there, then you can do it in Krishna consciousness to the degree that it's important to do.
It's hard.
Not check out with Krishna and check in with Maya and then you go back. Be with family members and do things that are meaningful to family members because it's meaningful to family members for the purpose that Krishna should be pleased, so that I and our family together go to Krishna. And you know, is there risk? Yes, there's risk. Go it alone, there's risk too. So don't go it alone. Don't check out. There's the art of doing things for Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Easier said than done, but that's the principle. And so much help will come from chanting good japa. Because that's time that's, you know, it's just you two. And your relationship with Krishna. And that if that becomes strong, as that becomes strong, it becomes your life. It's the strength that carries you. And then there's distractions when you're chanting japa, not just family stuff, it's stuff. It's the mind. That's our challenge and opportunity at the same time. Okay, I see
you so
one
much,
hand is
Maharaj.
up in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
This is a good group. You've got a lively group here.
The topic is
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for being here with us, Maharaj. I have a question. I heard from actually my husband. He said that 90% of spiritual advancement is by chanting and trying to chant without offenses. 90% of chanting.
Nice.
And I hold strong to that because except the 4 regulative principles, I am nothing. You know, I am not so advanced. I only know that. But when I talk to other devotees and I try to share this information, like how chanting, yes, they ask me, actually it's one of my friends, she asked me, where is it written?
Yeah.
So I heard it from my husband, but do you know where it's written? Because I cannot find it. If that's the case.
Husband is sitting there.
I'm not going to get in the middle of a family.
It's just so sweet.
Now, one can have realization. The 90% makes it like that's pretty firm, but you know,
Yeah.
it's so significant. You know, that one can find statements. Offenseless chanting makes the solution to all of life's problems. One can find statements like that. Then it's 100%. You know, then it's not just 90%. But it's a responsible husband or a responsible member of the Hare Krishna movement. When you say things, there's authority behind it. A little bit like Lakshmi's statement about Urbala's comment about some people commenting on Manashiksha. You know, it's just or the same conversation that I was having today with Garuda about some topic, and you know, some translations are they're filled with mistakes, and sometimes it's literal, but it's not catching the spirit. So, with your husband, in this particular topic, because you're bringing it up, it's like very, very particular. Find you and together with him find statements that support how important it is, aside from the 90%, how important it is to somehow be able to achieve offenseless chanting. And it's abundant.
Yeah.
So that's the statement. Whoever your friend has said, where's that? It's written somewhere. Here's 16 things that say how important it is. So whether it's 90% or 100% or 50% or whatever, that's not quibble. It's essential.
Significant.
Huh?
It's significant.
Well, the husband is there.
I beg your pardon?
The husband is there.
And he lives in the temple for so many
90%. You're the 90% guy?
90% guy.
99%. Okay. Okay. Someone else.
Yeah, Maharaj.
This is our last question. You want to be the last question?
Yeah,
sure.
Me? Oh, I thought you were, okay.
No, you.
Yeah.
You last question.
Thank you, Maharaj. It was wonderful class and such an eye-opener. There are so many things, very good things. Maharaj, I just wanted to share my little journey on this struggle of humility, pride, all the anarthas, 6 anarthas that I'm still doing, but just a little what kind of helped me a little bit. I'm still working on it. So what kept me hankering to get this start to work is when we get initiated, right? They say all our karma is taken by Guru, right? So, so I was like, okay, at least now I should try to keep my slate clean, at least now. But every time I know, like the next day I'm starting one thing or the other. Then yeah, but back of my mind, I was listening to Guru Maharaj's humility classes, pride classes and all that. But anyways, I was struggling. After 1 year, I was in person listening to his class. Suddenly, for me, I should have some practical way to, like a paper pen, I check, something like that kind of process. So in my mind, that idea came when I was listening to Guru Maharaj's class in person. That was every time I do something like hurting somebody or criticizing somebody or whatever, all the 6 anarthas, I started imagining like, when they give death sentence, they put a black coffin, I don't know what is it called in English, they put a cover on the head, right? When they give death sentence. In India they do, I don't know. So I thought every time I do that, I started imagining like, oh my God, that cover is coming and that means I have lost one chance. Krishna was just, I was getting a little close to Krishna, but I lost one chance of that. And
It's a nice story. Where's it going?
and the same way then actually it was just in my mind I started to visualize Maharaj, and then then I started to like every time I committed these things, I felt like I got down from the bus. I was close to my destination, but now I again, because I committed all this repeatedly,
so
I went back.
Yourself.
Yes.
Keep it short.
Okay, that's it, Maharaj. So I think somewhere a mental check and thing kind of helped me a little. Maybe yeah, that's what I just wanted to share this, Maharaj.
Sounds to me, stepping back from what I just heard, there's the head and there's the heart. Which leads?
I think heart. Heart.
Yes. So it's not just checking. That when the heart is there, then the checking is there, automatically. But when the heart isn't there, the checking isn't going to change the heart.
Yeah.
So what's at the heart? The heart is very simple. Krishna should be pleased. Why? Because he's the supreme enjoyer, and that we're meant for his service. That's why. That's who we are. So that's the journey of self-discovery, as the title of the book goes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna end.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada Ki. We're gonna end. We're gonna end. We have tomorrow somebody ends. You have to end somewhere. We're gonna end.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you.
Jai.
Yes.
Private darshan.